G'day humans, Chris Stead from Fine here. We're talking NFT games. Today the subject is Grit. Now this is a really important blockchain game in my opinion, and one you should definitely be keeping your eyes out on. Now on the surface it just looks like a by the numbers battle royale game with a kind of Red Dead Redemption Western themed aesthetic. However, if you look below the surface, you will discover this game has been put together by Gala Games, one of the biggest players and publishers in the Web3 gaming space, in partnership with one of the biggest and most important players in the traditional gaming space, Epic Games. So this makes Grit something of a guinea pig moment in the blockchain gaming space, and in my opinion, a really, really important title. So let's dive in, take a closer look at Grit. Now Grit has been developed by an indie mob called Team Grit, and until February 2022, they were actually designing the game not to be a blockchain-based game. It was at that time that Gala Games came in, acquired the developer, and they started converting it with some Web3 functionality in terms of blockchain, NFT, play-to-earn mechanics, that kind of thing. Now, as I mentioned, Gala Games is a big player in the Web3 space. They've made a lot of key partnerships with named developers and named players. They have a very gameplay first take on blockchain gaming, which I really like, and the titles I've seen so far from Gala Games have consistently been quite strong and involve big licensed properties as well, like say The Walking Dead, for example. Now, another big part of this, as I mentioned, is the partnership with Epic Games, but I'll touch more on that later. Now, Grit's core gameplay doesn't veer too far from the core mechanics we've seen in titles like Fortnite and PUBG. There's a solo, a duo, and a squads mode, although that should probably be posse. And you parachute into the landscape, land with pretty much next to nothing, loot up, and then try and survive as long as you can. There is a calamity storm in this one, which shrinks the area of available play space over the course of any given match to kind of condense the amount of fighters and survivors. However, there is a bit of a twist on this in that the calamity storm can follow an item such as a train or a horse. In fact, you can even ride a horse or ride a train to get quickly across the map itself. The landscape is what you'd expect from some sort of Western, dotted by little villages, little farmhouses, canyons, forests, reasonably barren landscapes across the type of thing. So while this isn't what I would call a visually spectacular game by any stretch, the Team Grit and Gala Games have carried across that Western theme quite well. Now, combat in Grit is of the run and gun variety. There are 20 different weapons across the game, obviously old-timey Western style weapons, and the developer is promising about 225 million different loadout variations when everything is considered. Now, the game will be using real physics, which means you'll have to deal with player movement, also bullet drop-off as well, which should be make for some quite skill-based gameplay, given that you're using the old-timey weapons. So I suspect that there might be quite a bit of close combat fighting in this game as a result. Now, one of the really interesting mechanics that I quite like, that I haven't seen in any other game before, is the way they've brought poker, which obviously a big part of the Western theme, into the gameplay experience. So as you go through the world, you'll be able to collect cards that you can find, like loot, or collected off felled foes or dead bodies. And these cards will have your traditional, hearts, spades, diamonds, clubs, and numbers on it, but they also have weapons on it. And if you can put together poker hands out of cards with the same gun on it that you're carrying, then you will get perks and other bonuses in combat. So that's quite a cool novel idea, actually. I really like it. So the idea, I guess, would be to pick up a royal flush on the weapon that you're holding, and then have some real OP weapon that you can use towards the end game. How that actually unfolds during the gameplay experience, so I can not yet attest to. So like most Battle Royale games, Grit is free to play, but unlike most Battle Royale games, you're not just earning cosmetics while playing, you're also earning the in-game token, which I don't think has been named yet. Obviously there's the Gala token, but I expect that to be the governance token, because it is across all of the Gala titles. But there will also be some sort of in-game token. It won't be called Grit though, because there's another token called Grit already out there, so it'll be interesting to see what they go with there. That's probably why it hasn't been named at this stage. So it is a it's a free-to-play experience, and you can just go through the entire thing and earn the actual token, which you can then use to invest into NFTs or to just buy cosmetics or the battle pass, because it is a battle pass, or you can then go into the play to earn mechanics of owning the NFTs. Now there are, as well, there's obviously the battle pass, sorry, as I mentioned. So there's a, by this stage in 2022, I'm sure you understand how a battle pass works. So you can buy a battle pass like you normally would and play this game as a battle royale experience without thinking really about NFTs or earning money or anything like that. If you're a scholar or a part of a guild, then you can obviously play to earn by earning in-game tokens, and you can obviously invest in cash or with your tokens that you earn in the NFTs. So there's three main types really. There is the generative heroes, which are your player character in the game. Now, I'm going to go into this a bit more later on, but unusually for a Battle Royale game, these are persistent characters. So you will actually level up your hero. If you're bought an NFT hero, you will level up over time, and you'll be able to spend, I guess, your experience points into leveling that into sort of a type of class or character type. So it takes it out of like kind of that standard whitewash battle royale like Fortnite, where you're all just kind of in the same boat, to something which may be a bit more like an Apex Legends style thing, where it's a bit more class based or a bit more hero shooter based like Overwatch even. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Now there's also like cosmetic loadout spots onto your hero. Now I suspect that the rarity of your NFT generative hero is what will determine how many cosmetic loadout slots you have on your character. That hasn't been confirmed as the time I'm telling you this, but that would play into what we usually see with NFT games of this type. And thirdly, you've got your horse NFT as well. So you can obviously ride a horse around this world, and interestingly, the horse is going to be this like secondary character which you will need to form a bond with over time, which plays into the Western theme, of course, the gunslinger and his horse. So how that is going to manifest in the gameplay, I'm really excited and interesting to know. Like, how do you even call this horse in to begin with? Because you parachute in and land on the ground, so you don't have your horse with you under your arm when you parachute in. So how do you call the horse in to begin with? And then how does that bond form? Is it just formed through use during gameplay? And how does that manifest in improving the, I guess, value of that NFT or the quality or the performance of that NFT, that horse, and also your character, which you're also leveling up parallel to the horse. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. As for the collectible poker cards I was telling you about at the start, there's been no indication yet that they will be NFTs, and from the way that the gameplay mechanics work, I suggest that they won't be. So some key aspects that we don't really know the answers to as I'm saying this right now, other than the name of any secondary token in the game, is how this generative hero NFT thing is going to work, because there's only 10,000 of them on launch. Now this game has been released on the Epic Games Store, which I'll go into a little bit more, and the Epic Games Store has more than 200 million registered accounts. So surely they don't want to cap their game out at 10,000 players who could potentially buy into this world with NFT or have a stake in this world with a generative hero. So how's that going to play out? Is there going to be some sort of breeding mechanic with the heroes or with the horses that will allow more people to access? Is there more stuff coming in the future? This is going to be a key part to how this game lives or fails. So it'd be very interesting to see how that's going to play out over the coming months and weeks. So I've already touched a little bit on how play to earn will work in this game, but just to go over it a little bit more. When you're playing the game, which you don't have to spend any money to do, you will earn some of the in-game token by playing. So that's one way that you'll be able to earn. There hasn't been any indication yet on whether there'll be any sort of renting market available if you want to rent an NFT, because if you're playing with an NFT, that NFT will act as a multiplier for what you earn. So if you're playing with a generative hero, if you're playing with a horse, if you've got a lot of cosmetic loadouts, and also if you own the battle pass, which isn't an NFT, it's just a battle pass. So those four things will act as multipliers to what you earn. So you play a game, let's say you come first, you earn X amount. And if you've also were playing with an NFT, you earn even more. If you're also playing with an NFT horse, you earn even more. If you all has a battle pass, you earn even more. So that's the way kind of the play to earn is going to work. And it'll be interesting to see how they're going to invite scholars and guilds into this world so that they can rent these elements to try and make a bigger income if that is the way they want to play. The key story here though with Grit is the involvement of Epic Games. Now, I'm sure you've probably heard of Epic Games, but this is one of the biggest names in video gaming. It has been for a very, very long time. Now, first and foremost, they're a developer, so they made games such as Gears of War, Infinity Blade, Unreal Tournament, and possibly most notably Fortnite. They've also recently acquired the developers for Rocket League and Fall Guys, and also Rock Band. And Fuser, the Harmonix, that developer there. So they've acquired even more games to, identify them as a serious developer. Like Fortnite's the biggest game in the world, right? And they develop it. So it's significant there. But they're also a middleware provider. So they build the Unreal Engine. And the Unreal Engine is probably the most used. I'm not sure if it's the most used because you've got Unity out there as well, which is very, very popular. But when it comes to AAA video games companies, Unreal Engine is probably the most licensed engine that I've come across and plays a big role in many of the biggest games that you've played from some of the biggest publishers in the world, and it's owned by Epic Games. Then on top of that, they've also got a retail store, the Epic Games Store, which is where it's a rival to Steam, on which you can buy PC games from all these major companies and indie developers as well, and as of the release of Grit, blockchain games. So, this is Epic Games is like a big deal. And they're also really into blockchain. Owner Tim Sweeney is very into the metaverse and what it can deliver. Less so NFT games, but he's very much into a blockchain and Web3 driven future. And overall, the Epic Games kind of reach extends beyond 600 million players, 200 million of which are registered to the Epic Games Store. So this is a legit moment for a blockchain game here. This is an opportunity for a blockchain game to reach a traditional gaming audience in the 200 million mark in strength. And because it's a partnership with Epic Games, it's not just launching on there, they're actually partnering on this. There's a chance that Grit's going to get some preferential treatment or at least some preferential placement to try and push the agenda here. And it's my belief that Epic Games is using Grit as a guinea pig to see how its own audience reacts to such a game and how this type of game can interact and integrate with the Epic Games Store, if not Unreal Engine. So it'll be, this is a really interesting and intriguing moment, and that's why absolutely you've got to keep your eye on this game, whether you like Battle Royales or Westerns or not. There's still a lot more to learn about Grit, but there's a genuine game here. Third person come Battle Royale shooter with a great theme and some really interesting and unique ideas. So first and foremost, we've got something here that we can play. It's not pie in the sky. People are playing it right now in beta form. But of course, the real story here is the involvement of Epic Games, this huge, massive name and brand within the traditional gaming space, which means that for Grit, success is a lot more than just entertainment. It's going to be measured by a lot more than about entertainment. It's going to be measured by how well it integrates and how well gamers respond and adjust to it. So we'll be keeping a very close eye on this game all the way to launch. But thank you very much for watching my current update on all things Grit. My name is Chris Stead from Finder. Make sure you check out my other videos, and until next time, happy gaming. Yeah.